Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.
The National Bank of Georgia on Wednesday decided to keep the refinancing rate unchanged at 8% as inflation in the country remained below the target rate, with overall price increasing by 2% annually in May. The Monetary Policy Committee of the bank expressed concerns about heightened uncertainty stemming from domestic and external challenges and highlighted the impact of exchange rate volatility on imported inflation. It also noted recent fluctuations in the international oil and food prices along with the surge in inflationary expectations in recent months. International oil prices have recently decreased, but the international food price index has been increasing for the last 2 months, it noted. Inflationary expectations have risen in recent months, while domestic economic activity is also stronger than expected, driven by increased credit activity, the bank added. Given the current analysis of domestic and external conditions, the MBG has decided to maintain the policy rate at 8%. The next meeting of Monetary Policy Committee will take place on July 31, 2024. In January-May 2024, the external merchandise trade of Georgia amounted to $8.4 million, which was 2.2% lower year-on-year, according to the preliminary data from the National Statistics Office of Georgia. As of the document, the exports equaled $2.2 million, while the imports stood at $6.2 million. The negative trade balance was $3.9 million in January-May 2024, and share in external trade turnover constituted 46.1%. In January-May 2024, the share of top 10 trading partners by exports in total exports of Georgia amounted to 79.7%. The top partners were Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and Russia. In January-May 2024, the share of top 10 trading partners by imports in total imports of Georgia amounted to 68.3%. The top partners were Turkey, Russia, and United States. In 5 months, wine of fresh grapes reclaimed the first place in list of top export items, equaling $140 million. The exports of ferro alloys totaled to $105 million, and their share in total exports amounted to 10.2%. The exports of precious metal ores and concentrates occupied third place, standing at $73.1 million, constituting 7.1% of total exports. Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze announced at a government meeting that the country recorded 9% economic growth rate in the first 4 months of this year. As you know, we have seen significant economic growth with a 9% increase recorded in the first 4 months. This enables us to adjust the state budget, adding $360 million this year. The additional funds will be allocated to crucial areas such as healthcare, education, culture, defense, and regional development. It's important to maintain the current economic growth rate to accelerate the growth even more, which has a direct positive impact on the budget. These data are a good example of how economic growth benefits our financial planning and resource allocation, the Prime Minister stated. The Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development, Levon Davitashvili, addressed questions about the potential sanctions during a briefing at the government administration. He emphasized the importance of a dialogue with strategic partners. We have a complex dialogue with our partners encompassing significant cooperation in various areas. This makes us believe we can find common ground on different issues. Sanctions are unacceptable and damaging. They don't signify partnership. We believe we can resolve all matters through dialogue with our strategic partners and friends, Davitashvili said. The first Vice Prime Minister pointed out that some opposition figures and media seem to support the imposition of sanctions on specific Georgian citizens, which he finds regrettable. The EU comprises many countries, political groups, and priorities makes the process complex. The recent European Parliament election highlight this complexity. However, I'm confident we will find a resolution through extensive dialogue. Georgia has proven to be a reliable partner of the European Union, especially in enforcing international sanctions, Taktakishvili stated. The transparency law is a preventive mechanism so that the government can complement reforms and align with foreign policy priorities, stated the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Georgia, Taktakishvili, on Tuesday. Taktakishvili was asked about the speedy adoption of transparency law in Canada. When we discussed this law, we always talk unequivocally about what led to its approval. Georgia has challenges in this direction. The law is a preventive measure to help the country navigate this through phase calmly, peacefully and consistently to reach the elections. The Georgian people should make their own decisions and the country should live in such a way that government can implement reforms and align with foreign policy priorities, which is our primary goal, stated Taktakishvili. The Georgian Parliamentary Legal Affairs Committee discussed and did not support President's motivated remarks on amendments to the election code. Based on the remarks, a consultative group of Central Election Commission, which is established within 10 days after the appointment of election date, should not be established. An amendment on the so-called deadlock mechanism should not be made, which says that if Central Election Commission fails to decide with the support of at least two-thirds of full composition, the issue will be put for a vote again. The decision will be considered as made if it's supported by the majority. The legal committee only took into account one point, which was the activity of a temporary technical assessment of election precincts, who should not affect the individual's social aid or registration in the program of the socially vulnerable persons. The committee supported draft bill's initial editions through a vote. Agriculture Minister Otar Shamugiyev on Thursday expressed optimism about this year's harvest during a visit to the village of Swabi in the Western Emirati region. Accompanied by Suyet Chalamberidze, the state representative in the region, and David Tsitlidze, the director of Rural Development Agency of the country, the minister visited a processing enterprise operated by the Georgian Laurel Leaf Company. Shamugiyev highlighted the increasing demand for laurel, especially for export, which he said have reached a record $20 million within the first 5 months of the year, with a significant portion going to the Chinese market. Overall, we anticipate a good harvest this year across all major crops that we produce. I believe we are in for a successful year. Naturally, we stand by our farmers, he said. The ministry said Georgian laurel leaf had received a substantial grant of $570,000 from the co-financing program for processing and storage enterprises, which had contributed to the employment of 35 individuals. The company's seasonal production of approximately 200 tons of dry bay leaves is exported to China.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.